Talking with the experts.
My guest in episode 397, Alvin Narsey, discusses when you have the visibility of the numbers in your business, you can start to flush your bank account with cash and start to drive profit. What are some things that we can do to stop ourselves from being distracted from the main prize?
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the fundamental steps is really to, and people, I'm sure we've read about this all the time, but I think it's really taking the time to understand our personal vision. So that means, what do we want out of our business, ensuring that, we're really using this business to support our lifestyle, to help create our dreams. So I think that's really, really important. The second part is to really understand our target market, who is our ideal customer, and making sure that we really have dialed in what problem is it that we're trying to solve. And I think
Talking with the experts.
Talking with the Experts would love to acknowledge Global Glamping Charities Incorporated for generously supporting this podcast. Global Glamping Charities, solving homelessness in all of its forms. Reach out to them at globalglamping.org.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. Let me ask you, have you got the visibility of numbers in your business, and can you start to flush your bank account with cash and start to drive profit? Well, my next guest, Alvin Narsey, is going to be discussing those very things. Now, Alvin is on an exciting journey and through his life, and he's been buying and selling multiple pharmacy businesses in Australia for the past 16 years. He is known for his ability to simplify the fundamentals of growing retail businesses. He has a framework that boils down to implementing the basics, I like that, focusing on cash flow and profit, and from day one, setting everything up so your retail business runs without you. Oh, hand up. Alvin, it's such a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for agreeing to share your wisdom with us.
Oh, thank you, Rose. Thank you so much for having me on. And I can already tell we're going to have such a great time. Thank you.
How did you get into the journey that you are on at the moment?
Yes, absolutely. So like you mentioned, I used to buy and sell pharmacy-based businesses in Melbourne, Australia. I'm no longer in Australia. I'm in Germany at the moment. And now I help retail business owners, not just pharmacy owners, but retail business owners with their cash flow and profitability, and making sure that, the business grows and runs without them. I actually got into that not really by accident, but it was highly suggested to me when I was running my last pharmacy business about 18, 19 months ago. And we made the decision to come to Germany. I was working with a business coach at the time. His name is Glenn. And so Glenn was like asking me, Alvin, now that we're going to sell the shop, what are you going to do when you get to Germany? I was like, I have no idea. And so he suggested, you've been a really good client, Alvin. Why don't you become a business coach as well? And I told Glenn, I was like, Glenn, I just haven't got the personality you have. I haven't got the skills that you have. I think I'd be a really bad coach. I wouldn't know what to do. Anyway, fast forward a month later, just a couple of weeks before we were flying off, I had a final dinner with him. And he told me, Alvin, have you given it much thought? I was like, about what? He goes, what are you going to do? I think you should be a coach. And Glenn, I've got no idea. And he gave me a really good suggestion. And he said, just remember to when you first got into business, if you could travel back in time and speak to little 26 or 27-year-old Alvin, what would you tell him? And, a really good coach will do that, right? They won't give you the answer, but, they'll get you to start to think in the right way. And yeah, that's what Glenn exactly did. So I set about creating a program that would make it really easy for little Alvin when he first got into business to, really achieve and fast track the results. And that's what I'm doing today. And that's how I got into doing what I'm doing today. Because when I truly first, you highlighted the word, simplification, right? Making things really, really easy. And, I'm a pharmacist. I was trained as a scientist. Nobody taught me how to run a business. And that's effectively the same thing with most business owners, right? We don't really get taught how to run a business. And I think the missing piece there is it's so easy for us as business owners to get caught up in all the sexy marketing and all the fun strategies. And we kind of bypass all the fundamentals because nobody really teaches us or walks us through it. So that's what I'm focusing on, because when that was taught to me by my first business coach, I've always been using business coaches. And my first business coach was Casey. When he first taught me that, it really helped me accelerate my business building career, if you will.
Yeah, I had a guest on earlier today. We talked about how entrepreneurs, how they start off, and I am so guilty of jumping into a business with my feet first and diving straight in and having no idea about how to run a business, and still learning. And I've been in business like for 7 years.
Yeah, I think it's a constantly, it's a constant thing to always continue to be learning, but it's also really seductive to, because people are always releasing new strategies and templates and marketing things to do. And it's so easy to go down that rabbit hole, and you kind of distract yourself from the main task at hand. And the rabbit holes are good. I think, it's something that we do with clients later on, but we make sure we set up the fundamentals first.
Yes, so run me through the fundamentals, because
Yes.
honestly, you're right. No one ever teaches you them, and you flounder around and you do the research on, Mr. Google, who knows everything.
Yep.
And if you still don't get the answers that you need, and sometimes you just need that little bit of extra knowledge that someone else might have. So Take it away.
Yeah, and that's the benefit of using a coach or a consultant or a mentor or something like that. But really, the fundamentals that I'm talking about is not anything new. Fundamentals apply to all businesses. Really, if you look at every business across the track, I just happen to specialize with retailers because, that's my expertise. I can speak that language really well, and I connect with retailers really well as well, basically because I've done it. But I think the fundamentals are really understanding. I think you spoke about visibility with my methodology, but really ensuring that we understand the flow of cash through our business. So understanding our cash flow is really, really important. And then from there, once we understand our cash flow, it's making sure that we can forecast it. I think that's a really, really important component. And then after that, it's really understanding how we can continue to run our business efficiently, that we're always optimizing for cash. And that's, some simple strategies, which I'm sure we can talk about later. And then after that, I think the third piece of my triangle is once we've got the understanding of the fundamentals set up, it's really, I think, about how we can drive profitability. And I think profitability is a metric that's often overlooked and seems to fall second to revenue and turnover. I think we all want really high turnover businesses, that we're rolling through all this money, but really high turnover is great. But really what matters at the end of the day is the profitability of our business, how much profit we have left over, because ultimately that's how we pay ourselves. And, that's what's going to increase our value of the business as well.
Yeah, being an entrepreneur there, sometimes business is a bit of stop-start, isn't it? And so to make these predictions about how much you're going to be making, sometimes it's a bit difficult to do.
Totally difficult to do. And, especially when you're just getting into business, and if you're, moving through different market cycles, and, the market's always constantly changing, if you're not able to adapt pretty quickly. And then, of course, if you get seduced with all the other marketing strategies and you go down your own rabbit hole without really focusing on your ideal clients and what problem you're solving, it can get a little bit distracting. But yeah.
Well, entrepreneurs are known to be creatives, most of us anyway. And
Yeah.
so rabbit holes are something that, we often find ourselves a bit like Alice, running down that rabbit
That's
hole.
right.
And
Yeah.
so, what are some things that we can do to stop ourselves from being distracted from the main prize?
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the fundamental steps is really to, and people, I'm sure we've read about this all the time, but I think it's really taking the time to understand our personal vision. So that means, what do we want out of our business, ensuring that, we're really using this business to support our lifestyle, to help create our dreams. So I think that's really, really important. The second part is to really understand our target market, who is our ideal customer, and making sure that we really have dialed in what problem is it that we're trying to solve. And I think these two things are our guiding light, with our personal vision and what we want to create out of this business. That helps us work on and in our business. And, in the moments where it gets really, really tough for us, or we want to throw in the towel, or we may get distracted, I think having that personal vision is really, really ideal to fall back on, because that's going to be our guiding light and really provide us with the direction that we need. And secondly, once we really understand our target market, and once we've really taken the time to, create an avatar and understand all the problems, and then also the solutions we can solve, that really gives us, a really decent narrowish kind of a pathway that we can continue to go down to then serve our clients and then solve their problems. So I think those are the two really, really important things. When a sexy strategy comes along, that always distracts us, right? And then we kind of move away from sort of thinking like, is this what our ideal clients, or is this the problem that we're solving, and this is going to help there? But and then I think we need to shift it back and come back to basically our core fundamentals of the problem that we're trying to solve.
Okay, so what if the problem, this is a hypothetical,
Mm-hmm.
what if the problem that you solve suits a whole range of people, not just one type of individual?
Yes, I think that's a great problem to have. And I think that's a great problem to look into, or once we've sort of established our business. I really believe that we should, focus on one set of customers, one set of clients, really nail down the avatar, and really start to provide solutions, serve them properly, making sure that we've got cash flow, we've got profitability, and we have a proven success model that we can, take care of these clients and make profit and make money from these particular people. And then after that, definitely let's start to expand the market based on the success that we've had in our first channel of serving the customers that we want. I think all too often, I think what you're probably alluding to is, we can find like, okay, we have this great solution, and it might work for a slightly different demographic. So we might prematurely jump to the other side and start serving them as well. And then we'll decide, oh, we can also serve these people as well with a little bit of that solution. And we create another track as well. And then all of a sudden we've got 3 different tracks going, and, we're probably not going to be serving all of them properly, and probably definitely not serving our core market properly and helping them to the full ability that we can. So it's easy to get seduced to all 3 tracks, but I think until we have a proven business model that's bringing in, all the funds and all the profitability, after that we should start to explore the other markets.
Yeah, I have heard some marketing gurus say that the avatar is dead.
Interesting. That's very interesting. I would respectfully disagree. I think with working with clients, and I coach retail business owners, it makes it so much easier for the retail business owner, or for any business owner really, I think, to, once you really understand the client and you understand the avatar, everything else just gets so much easier. And if you're a small to medium-sized business owner, more often than not, in the beginning, we're doing everything. And so just that focus, I think, is so, so important. And, and just from working with clients, I can definitely see that if we start to sort of spread our wings a little bit too early, it can get very, very distracting. And the main thing, it can get really overwhelming. So, I think initially, I think it's really important to focus on one.
Yeah, I agree. I think I just thought I'd put that out there. But I have been known to serve everybody, and
Hmm.
and I end up getting burnt out because I was just trying to get my head around all of these different types of businesses rather than focusing on the one. And I have a
Yes.
very good close friend who happens to be also a business coach.
Hmm.
And she just like wrapped me over the knuckles and said, "What are you doing?" So she
Yes.
brought me back down to earth, and made me focus on my ideal client and not
Yes.
even think about straying outside of that until she says, "Yeah, I hope that I can go. I'm too frightened of her not to." So
Exactly. I think it's so right. And this is one of the scary things when you're just starting out in business, right? Because it almost seems paradoxical that, oh my God, you just want me to focus on one particular clientele and one particular avatar, but I'm going to miss out on all these sales. And that's, that's quite a common resistance I get in the beginning with working with clients. But really, you know, once we start to focus on one particular person and one particular avatar, I beg your pardon, it just makes it so much easier, right? Your mind can think a lot better. Your marketing messages are a lot more laser focused. You know all the things that you need to do, like for instance, in setting up systems and procedures, and in our case, in the retail land, training our team. It just makes everything so much easier. And as retail business, as all business owners, really got so many things happening in our business, right? And having a little bit of a structure and a little bit of a laser focus, it just helps us with our day-to-day activities, and we're going to be so much more happier. And once I can show you, once we start to get runs serving our ideal client and we're starting to be, profitable, only then can you start to see, as the client that like, yes, okay, this makes sense. It takes a little bit of resistance and it feels a little bit funny in the beginning, but you've got to persist with it.
absolutely. Now, I'd be interested to learn a little bit more about your strategies and tools that you use in your
Coaching program.
Right, thank you very much. Yes, that's what a word I've been having senior moments for weeks now, and honestly, sometimes the simplest word just goes out the window.
Yeah. Okay. So I think one of the most daunting things when it comes to our business, and one of the most common mistakes that business owners make and retailers make as well, is I think the cash flow piece. So I'll probably just expand on that a little bit more. So cash flow quite often seems a little bit daunting, and I think it's because many of us who work with accountants and we have bookkeepers, and maybe every quarter or every month they might send us their reports, and there's all these numbers out of there, and we look at them as a business owner, I'm like, oh my God, what do we do with all these numbers? And we tend to push it aside. And I think the key to understanding cash flow is to keep it really, really simple. And the best way that we do that is use a very simple spreadsheet, and we log into our bank accounts, and we basically, and in retail, we trade on a weekly basis. So I get my clients to do it weekly. It's basically just really simply recording how much cash went into your business and how much cash went out, and just really making sure that the end balance from our simple spreadsheet marries up with our internet banking or our online banking. And that's a simple step one, right? It sounds so simple and so crazy, but just this act of just recording what's actually happening in the beginning, it just blows our clients' minds, and blew my mind the first time I did it, because all of a sudden you're just now starting to pay attention line by line, like, okay, this happened. And eventually, once you start recording it for, a few weeks even, you'll just start to see you'll have x-ray vision into your business. And now you can sort of really understand how the cash is flowing through your business. And then, you'll start to pick up like, oh, maybe every third week, the business does better. And yes, I know I've got that electricity bill that comes out in the third week of every month. And oh, look, our suppliers, we paid this supplier that much 3 weeks ago, and now it's gone up a little bit. What's going on there? And then, basically everything just starts to unfold in front of you. But I think the key thing here is to keep it really, really simple, a very simple spreadsheet. And the key in the beginning, I think, is to not outsource it. So I want you as the retail business, or as the business owner, to be doing it yourself. And when clients do that, it really blows their mind. It just opens up everything. They can start to see everything that's happening in their business. And then from there, I think once we've recorded 12 weeks of data, which I think is a good amount of time, and then it gets really interesting because now we can start to forecast with a high degree of accuracy on what's going to happen in the next 12 weeks. And that becomes even more powerful for you as the business owner, because now you can start to use the same data from the previous 12 weeks, and then you can just start to manipulate some of the figures, and you can, really see, like, for instance, if, the supplier X, if the bill goes up this much, of their purchasing goes up, how does that impact how much cash we have in the bank in 8 to 10 weeks time? Or I like to think one of the fun things is, if we need to buy a new piece of equipment and it costs 5K, if we pay that now or next week, how does that impact our business in 8 to 10 weeks time? And then we can make some fun decisions like, okay, well, maybe we can either hold off on that or we can seek outside funding. So, it just makes that whole concept of understanding the numbers in our business a lot easier, which is, on the outset is so overwhelming, and it can be really, really complicated for most business owners, right? But I think just keeping it very, very simple like that will give you sufficient understanding of what's going on.
Yep, great strategies. And what's the next step after that?
Yeah. So the next step for us is, I think, to really have some key performance indicators. I think KPIs are often overlooked, and KPI metrics are often overcomplicated as well if we don't have them in our business. So KPIs are really good because what this does, it forces you to sort of benchmark and forces you to compare and contrast with how you went the previous week. And, eventually, when it comes to long term, KPIs allow you to run your business from afar, because as retail business owners, in my case, now I want to get you, the retail business owner, to step back from the day-to-day running of your business. And so eventually you could be at home or on the beach and, ensuring that your team are meeting these particular key performance indicators. And they're really good dials to see in your business. Some of the major mistakes that business owners make with key performance indicators also is they have too many KPIs, which then becomes overwhelming, right? I know for retailers, retail business owners, I think 6 to 10 is about the sweet spot. Have it on an A4 piece of paper. We put it in the staff room in the back, and it's visual so we can see it. It's very, very simple so that our team can update it. And we track really basic things. And some of the things that I think that are common to all businesses, not just retail businesses, would be a few things like tracking. Obviously, your gross sales is really important. Another metric which is really worth tracking is our average sale per customer or average sale per client. I think that's really important as well. And you can start to also track your margins as well within particular categories that are important to you. But they're the 3 starting ones that we use. And then, you can pick another 3 that sort of are tailored to your business. And, by working on those levers, on driving those particular KPIs, it's a great way to improve your profitability and the overall health of your business.
Now, I think KPIs are something that most of us miss out on. We don't value them as much as we should.
Yes. And part of the thing is, like I mentioned, we overcomplicate them as well. So, just by keeping it really simple and taking a step back and sort of understanding what's going to be really essential to our business to drive it forward, to drive profitability, drive cash flow, drive sales, and what's going to make it really easy for us and fun for us to measure on a weekly basis. So I think that's one of the keys there as well. I mean, you can see on the internet, there are so many KPI dashboards that you can sort of purchase and use. And the graphs and the figures and the colors look really, really great. And then, it comes to implementing it, and it can get very, very complicated. So I think just sticking to the core essentials are so important.
Excellent. And what's the third one?
So I think in the visibility piece also is understanding our margins. I think that's another really basic thing that we need to get a hold of, and we often overcomplicate the process. Because by truly understanding your margins, you're really getting a sense of how much money you're going to be making. And in retail especially, margins, we can start to benchmark ourselves and benchmark our store, and in particular benchmark our categories. So just that visibility component of really understanding, we may be selling a particular product or service without any respect to understanding how we've priced it, right? This is a common thing. We just price it because we think that's going to be a really good price without taking any, really looking into it. But really, when we work it out, what our margin is, how much on a percentage, or how, which is what we work with, it's really, really low. And then, you can't run a sustainable business long term with low margin, right? Because we're all in this. I think we're all in this to make profits properly. And but once we realize that, hey, we have a low margin product or service or category, we can then start to make some informed decisions on why that's the case and how we can go about tweaking it and moving it forward from there.
Yeah, my husband and I used to own a retail food business. And we always put 300% on everything.
Nice.
We thought, yep, that was our margin. So for a piece of fish cost $1, then it was $3 after that. So
yeah.
That to us, that was the simplest way of doing things, but it kept us pretty much in line with we weren't underpriced, we weren't overpriced. We're sort of just in the middle there. So it served us well just to do
Excellent.
that. But
and with the margin piece as well, I think it's really important that we continue to monitor it, right? So in the beginning, it may seem like a little bit of work to constantly be pulling reports and understanding it. But I think as part of the visibility component as retail business owners, and really any business, is in the beginning, we just need to be on top of it, and keeping it really simple and just pulling a report every week and just looking at our figures and saying, hey, is that margin acceptable for us based on our current trading conditions or what's happening in the marketplace? And quite often, especially in retail land, and you may have come across this in your supermarket, we enter the price incorrectly onto our point of sale system. This happens all the time in retail. And then we're just, and if we have no stops and checks like this weekly margin check, we could be selling a particular product at a loss without even realizing it all. And so I think that's one of the big pieces that sort of opens up our client's eyes when we start to do this weekly margin check.
When we started doing that and started keeping KPIs and margin checks and everything, this is how we found out that one of our staff members was stealing from us.
Exactly.
It was well over $6,000 worth of stuff because she was there on a Sunday by herself, and we started asking our customers questions, and she was leaving the till open. So and then she was actually taking stock home. We actually watched her one night take stock home in bags. And we were, because she was a family friend, we were devastated. But when we worked out how much money we'd lost, it was like, oh my God. And that was like over a 6-month period. So she was stealing quite a bit of money from us. But if I hadn't have started keeping the KPIs and whatever, then we would have just been, oblivious to what was going on. But anyway, it's a timely warning to people.
Yes, and it's so easy to become oblivious, right? Because we're small to medium-sized business owners. There's so much going on in our businesses, and these are some of the easy things to just sort of, I'll get to it later. And as you know, we eventually never get to it.
Just because my husband was saying, our stock costs were going up, but we weren't making any money. Why is that? So I put a spreadsheet together and worked out what was going on, and it's timely. It's a timely reminder to business owners to be mindful that people aren't always as honest as they seem to be.
Unfortunately, that's the case.
And these little spreadsheets can be quite helpful.
Yes, they can be so helpful. And just once you set it up once, it's very easy to maintain and very easy to sort of have it as part of your weekly process or review for the week. So important.
And if you're not, and another bit of, unsolicited advice is, if you're not good with spreadsheets, get someone to set it up for you, and, put the formulas in that you need, and then you've just got to copy and paste, and it's easy peasy.
Exactly right. Yeah, just fill in the numbers.
That's it. Alvin, where can people find you if they want to take advantage of your beautiful course or offering that you have?
Absolutely. You can go to my website, Alvin Narsey Coaching, which is a mouthful, but all you need to do is just my name that you see on screen here. I think the quickest way to do that is to put that into Google, and you'll find me everywhere. You'll find my YouTube channel, you'll find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you find me. Just send me a message, say that you heard me speaking with Rose, and we can continue the conversation from there.
That'd be great. All right. Any last words of wisdom you'd like to share?
Thank you so much for having me on. And I just want to really reiterate that, business may seem complicated in the beginning, but I would really, really advise you just to really focus on the fundamentals and keep it really, really simple in the beginning. And that'll take you so far.
Absolutely. Alvin, it's been a pleasure. It's been wonderful meeting you, and thank you for joining me today.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.